Yo, what's going on, people? Welcome to Villa in Noir. Julian here, and it is time for our match debrief of the Villa game on Sunday. Our win against Tottenham Hotspur. Really happy with how things are trending for Aston Villa. And in today's episode, we'll look at some of the intricacies of the game, look at some of the stats, we'll look at some of the positional patterns that we had as a team. We'll break down the goals. And also I'm going to give an insight into one of our players that I believe is showing his world-class nature over and over again. Before I do anything else, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. Really enjoying the interaction that I'm getting. I wish I could get a little bit more and continue to support this channel. We're moving towards 400 subscribers, which is great. So let's keep going. All right, so let's get into this now, yeah? So as always, the first thing I'm going to look at is our average positions of the team. So the average positions give an insight into patterns of play a little bit, looks at how the players were truly set up. I know Unai always sends out a 4-2-3-1, but in terms of how we play, it's not always that. So if we look at this now, so this is the starting lineup, and we see a lot of congestion on this side, on the right-hand side. One thing I will say is I feel like Gessan's positioning, it speaks to his defensive duties. It speaks to him being quite defensive and to offer support to that right hand side, which in reality has helped us. But I do worry about us going forward. But his involvement in the first goal is key, and I'll get into that later. So you can see the kind of shape that we're having. You know, our centre backs kind of hold the line. The fullbacks are given license to go forward. If you look at Digne's heat map here, you can see he was up and down and holding the width. He plays a lot more wider than Matty Cash, because Matty Cash will kind of venture into these areas well, but still quite wide as well. I'm show you Gessan's one as well. So if you look at Gessan's heat map, obviously he didn't play the whole game, but there's not much up here, and it's not wide, and you know there's venturing into the central, but you know there's quite a lot of work back down here as well, which is not a problem. But we see one thing here, so and again, I wouldn't say it worries me, but it speaks to Unai's philosophy. So he wants the fullbacks to give the width, because if you notice, McGinn is meant to be the left-hand side of that attacking three. And, you know, he'll be over here, obviously, taking corners, but he'll venture into these middle areas as well. I look at the fact that McGinn and Marlon, in terms of their average position, is very similar. Obviously, Marlon didn't play the whole game. But as our front man, again, not sure how much he offers with us with that. And I've been saying this for a while. Like, Marlon is great, and I really think he has shown his worth in the last couple games. But it's very clear that, you know, outside of Ollie Watkins, we don't really have a striker. And I think it's something that we might have to look forward to in January when we got into the window. We need a backup striker. Maybe there's a young player somewhere, you know, if it's not in the academy, that we can start to push through to give some reprieve to Ollie Watkins, and also give us some insurance if we are to lose Ollie Watkins to injury or to any other reason. So I think it's important that we do that and make it a priority as a team. There's a lot more attacking going down on the right, which was pretty much non-existent in the first part of the season. So we're starting to see a difference in how we play the game. We're starting to see a difference in it's not just one side on the left-hand side as per. It's still very congested on the left-hand side in terms of our attack, but there's a little bit more going down the right, and it's less central. And I think Unai made a decision after the first few games of the season, saying that we're not going to be a team that just merely goes through the middle. We're going to try to utilise the wide areas as well, and I really do like that. One stat I want to bring our attention to, which is quite telling, is out of the 8 shots that we had, obviously there was 2 on target, but only 2 were inside the box. It tells 2 different things. So I still think we struggle in that final. I still think we're struggling in creating clear-cut chances in that final third. However, it's this stat that I want to talk about quickly, is the shots outside of the box. Now, I don't know about anybody else, but at the start of the season, it felt as if the players weren't given the license to shoot outside of the box. It felt as if they were trying to walk it into the net. And I believe that was partly due to whatever Unai said to the players about this is our system. There was clear-cut opportunities where players would usually shoot from outside the box. And I don't know whether Unai said just giving them the green light to go for it, or they've just said, yeah, we're going to start cracking shots from outside the box. And a lot of our goals have come from that. You know, Buendia's goals, you know, McGinn's goals, a lot from outside the box. Morgan Rogers' goal was from outside of the box. And I'm going to get into the goals in a little bit. I want to break them down a little bit more. But one thing I want to bring our attention to today is that man, Boubacar Kamara. He has been sensational. And it's clear how important he is to our team. He is an all-round top-class player. If we look at his stats from the game itself, most touches 60, most duels won 14, most final third entries of 7, most possessions won 5, most tackles 4, most fouls won 4, most successful take-ons 3. He was top of the list in so many categories, and it wasn't just attacking categories, it was also defensive categories as well, which shows his all-round ability as a player. And he's someone that, one, we need to make sure stays healthy, but 2, we need to make sure we hold on to him. And I think he's the Premier League's biggest and most slept on secret. And selfishly, I kind of like that, because I believe if any of the top teams really see his worth, they're going to come in for him. And we just hope that we can hold on to him. And we just hope that we can give the silverware that's required to not just him, but the other players, to keep them here at Aston Villa. We need to win something this year, already out of the Carabao Cup. But how can we do something to win the FA Cup? Can we win the Europa League? Can we qualify for the Champions League outright in 4th place? I believe 4th or 3rd, or the top 4, sorry. I think it's possible. And I think that he, along with the likes of Ezri Konsa, along with the likes of Emi Martinez, have provided a stability within the spine of our team, which allows the Morgan Rogerses, the likes of McGinn, to start being a little bit more free in their game. And they're just so important. I know that the fans aren't for Emi, you know, but I'm forgiving. And I believe that we need to embrace him again, you know. We haven't sang that he's the world's number 1 in a while, and I think we just need to show that man some love. He's kept us in the game. He made some great saves on the weekend. There was one thing that was a bit shaky, but he's our best goalkeeper, and he provides a level of stability that, although Marco Bizot has been good, I don't know how amazing. I don't know how much it really can compete with what Emi Martinez can do. All right, so that's my little spiel on them. But they're so important. Boubacar Kamara, one thing I'll say about him as well is the fact that we see the likes of Lamar Bogard to be able to have a better game. And I think it would have been nice to see Bogard start. I think they had a really great chemistry. But I think as long as Boubacar Kamara is in there, the person next to him is going to be able to just play their game. I think Onana had a good return back. You know, I'm looking forward to seeing Tielemans back, man. Jeez, Booba and Tielemans together. I just can't wait. But he is key. And without him, it's very telling how it is for us. So let me just go into, let me show you some screenshots from the goals itself. Let's look at the goal that we conceded. All right, so as you can see, when obviously this was not long after a corner, so our defensive line is our defensive line. I do think at the minute, when we see it here, it's a good line. It's a good line. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Spurs, 6 Spurs, and then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Villa players in and around the box as well. You see how Unai's system, you know, when the ball's over here, we are going to try overload to the side to make sure that no easy balls are given in. But this is a great ball that came in from the left-hand side. But I think the defensive line is pretty solid. right? Dropping, everyone seems to kind of be in sync there. But if you go to the next screenshot, and this is where I think it went a bit wrong. So the ball's gone through to the back post. I think this was Rodgers. Could have done a better job. However, Rodgers isn't great in the air. He's tall, but he looks like he doesn't like to head the ball. I watch him all the time, and he's always ducking or whatever. But anyway, it's another story for another day. So I think this is a great head back, because in reality, the only place you could get it for Bentancur to have any chance was where he placed it. However, I do think McGinn was a little bit lax in how he tracked back. Where you wanted him to be was literally on the penalty spot, and he's slightly not. He's not there, and I think if he was on the penalty spot, he would have been able to at least obscure the ball, the visibility of the ball to Bentancur, and he wouldn't have had a clean strike, or at least hold him for a second. So it's pedantic. I'm not gonna lie, it's a pedantic thing, but in a situation where we're trying to hold on to clean sheets, and in a situation where this could have been 1-0 and then they could have piled pressure on and got some more goals, these are the small margins of the game. And I did say this on Sunday in my match reaction, that football's a game of small margins, right? Little things. So maybe McGinn could have been a little bit more proactive in just covering that zone there. Onana's a little bit in no man's land, but he's probably thinking about this player behind him. Just little things, but here we go. It would have been nice to not have that goal be conceded. Let's have a look now at the second goal. Well, not second goal. Morgan Rodgers' goal. Right. Let's have a look at Morgan's goal. I want to show you something in terms of, and anyone that's been following me for the last few weeks will know, this will show exactly what I've been saying about our movement going forward. Anyone that's been following me for a while will know that I talk about our shape when we go forward. And I'll show you here. So I've said that when we're in attack, generally, we try to have this kind of shape. And what happens is we create a back three, the fullbacks push forward, and we try to have this kind of shape where there's the focal point, someone on the right, someone on the left, Rodgers and Kamara, or it would be one of the three, the middle three, would kind of make this box here or make this line here. And what you see here is boxes and triangles, boxes and triangles. That's what we're trying to see. Now, let me show you the positioning of the players just before Morgan Rodgers' goal. Alrighty. There we go. Now, the only difference with what I'm saying here, effectively, is the position of Gesand and Cash. So Gesand and Cash, you've got the high fullback-ish on both sides. You've got Dino on the other side, yeah? You got Morgan and Kamara. You got Marlon and McGinn. I think we're a bit close. You would want to think that the middle striker is trying to occupy this space here. You know, come in between the two, right? Make them guess, make them guess. So you'd probably think, if it's Ollie Watkins, you probably have him in this zone here, right? To make him guess, make him think about who's behind him as well. But you're seeing the boxes and the triangles, seeing triangle, you're seeing box, yeah? That's what Unai is trying to create. Wherever the ball is, there's a triangle and a box, right? Because of that, you get Morgan Rodgers has a little bit of brilliance. Again, he gets the ball, gets a little bit of fortune when he bounces off Xabi Simons, and then some quick footwork and a brilliant finish. But this is maybe a bit of trying to prove a point for myself, really, is that this is the shape that we're trying to get. And I think it works. I do think the focal point here just needs to occupy the area where if ball's on the left-hand side, you're trying to run in there. ball's on the right side, that's where you want to be, at least given a threat to running behind there, right? There we go. And then let's talk about that final goal. And I think what's key about the final goal for me is, I'm going to screenshots for this one because it's all etched in our memory, that beautiful ball from Matty Cash. But something that I will point out about that goal is the fact that Matty Cash did something that I've been screaming for us to do, especially from set pieces. Oftentimes when the ball goes into the box and it comes back out and we always have a deep line player, or one or two, the first thought that we do have is to go backwards and start and reset from Martinez. Now, if you watch the footage, you'll see that McGinn, after he plays it back to Cash, he's pointing back to Martinez. Obviously, this is part of the system that Unai has drilled into the players. But I've been saying, you see in those positions, it's important to make those diagonal balls or have someone making the run behind, because what happens is the defence are trying to come out. And yes, it's a risk of offside, but if you time the run, if the pass is on point, you can unlock defences, and that's what we saw. Matty Cash, world-class pass. You know, if that was any of the more marquee players in the Premier League, that would have been all over social media. People would have been screaming about it, but because it's little old Cash, no one's saying nothing. But it was top tier, you know, great from Digne and a great finish from Buendia. But it's, again, small margins, a game of small margins. If Matty Cash decides to take the ball down and cut it back and just play it back to Martinez, you would have lost that ability to just send the ball straight back into a danger area. And I think it's something we probably need to consider when we are in set piece scenarios, that we are thinking about the next play. If it doesn't work this way, what's the outlet? Where is our outlet going to be? And do we have the players that have the confidence, have the ability to spray that ball to the outlet? I just think it's something that we need to think about. I hope Unai is listening. Not much I can say. I do think it was one of our better performances to come back from 1-0 down on the road to win a game. Happy, 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 happy days. Let me know your thoughts. Remember to like, comment, subscribe to this channel. I hope you've enjoyed today's match debrief. If I've missed anything, let me know. You know what it is. I'll be back on Thursday for a watch along for our Europa League game against the Go Ahead Eagles. Come on, let's do this. Let's keep the win streak going. This has been Villa in Noir, my match debrief. As always, guys, at the Villa. Peace.